What's good, Storm fans? I am Bryant Cook, and today we're playing the Epic Storm version 15.3 with Cyborg Thoughtseize. Let's go check it out. This is not the deck list that we'll be playing today. It's the Epic Storm version 15.1. But before we talk about today's deck list, a few housekeeping things. Literally, over the last 2 weeks I've moved. I'm in a brand new home, woo, all that good stuff. But over the last few weeks, I've published videos that I had pre-recorded for some time trying to build a buffer. That buffer's gone. I am now recording for tomorrow, and here we are. So my office in my last home, I was slowly emptying out the house, and it caused a lot of echoing. And because of that, people thought that my volume was peaking when it was really just echoing, and my audio wasn't as good. Hopefully it's better moving forward, and let me know what you think of the audio quality in this video. I would greatly appreciate that. So in front of you is the deck list that we've been playing. This is 15.2. Alex McKinley and I tested this for a couple weeks behind the scenes, and we have 3 main deck Thoughtseize, a 4th Chrome Mox, and no copies of Rite of Flame. What we found is that Galvanic Relay was pretty stinky, and we didn't like this list overall. There's a lot of matchups where we just felt like 7 protection was too much in our Galvanic Relay deck. So we ended up moving back towards 15.1. If you look at the main deck between here and 15.1, it's identical. The only thing that's changed is the sideboard. We do want Thoughtseize, but we don't want them in the main deck. So if you look at the front page of MTG Goldfish, you would see decks like Lands, Painter, and Initiative, a whole bunch of other decks as well, are all playing Mindbreak Traps again in their sideboard. Not really sure why. Storm isn't even that good at the moment, but we need to combat Mindbreak Trap again. So we're playing Thoughtseize. We cut the Echoing Truth and the 4th copy of Carpet of Flowers. We were crushing blue decks. I had an over 80% Delver matchup. That's insane. So we could probably get away with 1 less Carpet. And as much as I like Echoing Truth, in those matchups, Thoughtseize does discard permanents before they hit the battlefield. So I think we can get away with it. And this gives us better game against Mindbreak Trap decks. So that is the reason for this change. That's what we'll be playing in today's league. I've gone 7-3 with this list so far, and today we're going to see if we can, keep up that good win rate. All right, that's enough of me rambling. Hopefully you enjoy the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in match number 1. Don't go anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, cyborg guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to match number 1. We're on the draw against somebody with the username ReprintDarkRitual. It could be bait, it could be a real Dark Ritual player, but when we look at our opening hand, we have Taiga Rite of Flame, and then we have Bloodstained Mire. So if this hand drew Lotus Petal, you could have turn 2 Beseech the Mirror into a win. Or even a Chrome Mox. I think that's good enough where I'm willing to keep this. Misty Rainforest, okay. Another Rite of Flame, that's fine. We'll play the Bloodstained Mire and pass the turn. What I found playing the Thoughtseize list that had 3 Thoughtseize in the main deck and the Chrome Mox is I just missed Rite of Flame so much. There's a Magic Online user that's been grinding a Ant-style Beseech the Mirror list, and they've gotten to the point where they completely cut Cabal Ritual. They decided that they didn't need it when you have Chrome Mox and Lotus Petals and Mox Opals in their deck. So a lot of people have been like, Bryant, Rite of Flame doesn't cast Beseech the Mirror, and I completely understand that. We're in a situation right now where that is the case, where Cabal Ritual could. But that person is having so much success, and they're not even playing it. So I could jam all in right now into this blue deck. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to choose to be patient and wait for my window. So Rite of Flame really helps fuel all the secondary engines of the deck. And what I mean by that is obviously Galvanic Relay, but Burning Wish into Echo of Aeons and Peer into the Abyss and all that stuff. I just think that not playing Rite of Flame when we are not all in on Beseech, because like a lot of people want to build their decks solely around Beseech. And I kind of just feel like that's a mistake. I'm not really interested in that gameplay. We'll play Opal here. Pass the turn. So if you want to build a deck that's all in on Beseech the Mirror, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're looking to do that, you shouldn't be playing Burning Wish at all. You should be playing Infernal Tutor. Because Infernal Tutor can then search out Beseech the Mirror and cast it and all that sort of stuff. But when you're choosing to play Burning Wish and Galvanic Relay, you're accepting that you're not all in on Beseech. Beseech is a tool that you have access to. So a lot of the complaints that Ant players have had recently is that they feel like their deck is pigeonholed into Beseech the Mirror, into Guy's Will, which maybe that's a little bit of a deck construction thing. If you're choosing to run Infernal Tutor and Beseech the Mirror, you are forced more often than not to go get Guy's Will or empty the Warrens when you might have wished you could have gotten Ad Nauseam or whatever. But that's a deck construction choice, where here we're leaving the window to go get Echo of Aeons or Peer into the Abyss more often. All right, we're going to play this Bauble. And then let's target ourselves. I would love a Galvanic Relay. Veil of Summer's pretty good, though. We will pass the turn. Our opponent grabs a Volcanic Island. Oh no, a Lightning Bolt. So the Epic Storm switched from being a deck that cared a lot about its life total to a deck where your life total doesn't matter as much. Obviously, you don't want it to be 0 or 1 if you're casting Peer into the Abyss. But it reminds me a lot of the 2018 Ant style decks, where at the time Cyrus Corman Gill, great Storm pilot, was winning a lot and said that every single time that one of his opponents played a Lightning Bolt or led on turn 1 Delver Secrets, it was essentially a mulligan. I feel like Lightning Bolt now to the Epic Storm is the same way, now that we're not a life total based Storm deck. We're not playing Ad Nauseam. We're not trying to count the clock for empty the Warrens. We just have engines that kind of just kill you. And that's what I mean by that. So we're taking 2 from a couple channelers here. They ended up keeping a card on top of their deck for what it's worth. Wasteland. That's brutal. We did need that mana source. We were actually hoping to draw another so we could go off protected on our turn. And a Delver's Secrets. They have 4 cards left. Okay. Lotus Petal. Let's see it. Tendrils. Not one we really wanted. We're going to play Chromox here. And we have 4 cards. I think I'm going to imprint Beseech. We'll just pass for now. Alright, so they're going to go to their upkeep, Delver's Secrets. Does not flip. Our opponent is now attacking for 3, so we'll go to 11. They have 5 cards in their hand. Another Delver. 4 cards. Come on, Lotus Petal. Bloodstained Mire. Does that do it? It does not. Let's play Lion's Eye Diamond. That has resolved. I'm going to fetch, and I think I'm just going to cast Tendrils of Agony this turn. Just want to make sure that I don't surprise die. And let's start on a Rite of Flame. Okay, so that is resolved. I think I'm willing to burn another Rite of Flame here, because we only need the 1. I'm not actually worried at all about being choked on mana after this point, so this Rite of Flame just represents 2 more life, and I think I'm okay with that. And now we'll cast Tendrils of Agony. So this is good for 8 life. Just trying to create a little bit of a buffer. Tendrils is on the stack. Our opponent's been thinking they shouldn't interact with this, but maybe they're thinking they could try to kill me or something. And we'll just pass the turn. They have 2 Delvers that are triggering. The first one doesn't. I'm guessing that the second one won't either. Underground Sea. Okay. So they now have Orcish Bowmasters. Interesting. So we knew that they were holding the Ponder because they drew the Underground Sea for turn because they didn't play a land the previous few turns. So I wonder if that means that they have double force in their hand. They shuffled with the Ponder, so the Delvers are not guaranteed to flip on their next turn. We'll take 4. Draw for turn. Bauble. I'd like to see my top card. Actually, I'm supposed to wait. Because if I trigger the Bauble now, they could flash in a Bowmaster and they get extra triggers that could kill me. Delver triggers. No flip again. Land number 4. They have 4 cards still in their hand. Our opponent declares attackers, then inside of combat, it looks like they're trying to cast a spell. Sure, I mean, that doesn't trigger your stuff. So I now know that they have 3 cards in hand, which means that the worst thing that they could possibly have is Daze Force of Will blue card. So as long as we draw a mana off of... Oh, they shot their own Delver. I see. That's how they were getting Delirium. Okay. So as long as we find a mana off of this Bauble, we should be able to win. That'll do. Okay, so we'll draw off the Bauble. We'll go to 6, and their Orc army will get a little bit bigger. And then we'll draw for turn. It's Galvanic Relay. We'll play another Mox Opal. Tap this Badlands for a red. We'll cast Rite of Flame, which makes 4 red. The Rite of Flame has resolved. We will now fetch down to 5. Let's grab a Bayou. And we will cast Veil of Summer. Storm is 3. They Force Will, exiling a Murktide Regent. And now we will hold priority and cast Beseech the Mirror. We'll sacrifice this Mox Opal. I guess I didn't need a hold priority. I was going to wait for the Beseech the Mirror to resolve before I sacrificed the Lion's Eye Diamond anyway. So Storm is 5, our opponent's at 9. I could go just Burning Wish into Tendrils here, but they're not likely to have main deck Graveyard Hate, and I feel like Geiswell just gets us a little bit further. So I'm going to choose to hold priority, cast this Geiswell, and then I'm going to sacrifice the Lion's Eye Diamond for 3 block. If for some reason our opponent has like a Stifle or like a Spell Pierce, yeah, like I guess 6 mana, we could have beaten Spell Pierce with the Burning Wish line anyway. Maybe like a Spell Snare for some reason. I feel like just playing the Geiswell is free is my point. You're not gonna lose game 1 to Grixis Delver due to Graveyard Hate. And we got game number 1, which is great. So now we just have to get a post-board game. We're going to bring in our 3 copies of Carpet of Flowers. I haven't been loving bringing in Abrupt Decay in this matchup. And just like in general, in order to bring in Abrupt Decay, you board out artifacts. So your Metalcraft count gets lower, your relays get worse, and I just found that a lot of the time you can naturally beat the Null Rod anyway. So I'm just not trying to bring in Abrupt Decay because a lot of the time I just wish that the Abrupt Decays were Mox Opal or Chrome Mox or whatever. Anyway, enough of me ranting and rambling. Let's find 3 slots for these Carpet of Flowers. So I think you could probably shave like 2 Baubles and like maybe an Opal. Let's try this. I actually really like Chrome Mox in the matchup just because they're a mana denial deck. But I've been doing a bunch of different board plans recently, trying to figure out the best way to reconfigure our sideboard plans. Speaking of sideboard plans, as I record this, it's October 27th. This video should go live on Monday, October 30th. Well, on the 1st of November, there will be a sideboard guide published to our Patreon. You cannot get it through YouTube membership. It's a Patreon exclusive. Our Patreon goes towards paying our site writing team, our staff. The YouTube channel support's really just for me. I mean, I pay Jordan and Tony, but it's mostly for the 40 plus hours a week I dedicate towards creating free content for all of you. But the Patreon pays all of them. So that's where the Sideboard Guide is hosted. And if you're interested in the Epic Storm version 15.3 Sideboard Guide, that is where you can find it over on our Patreon. The link is in the description down below. Game number 2, we're on the draw, and this hand is honestly just insane. We're going to keep it. I can't imagine mulliganing this hand in this matchup. Like, these are exactly the kind of hands that you want. Our opponent plays a Volcanic Island into Delver Secrets. Dark Ritual, pretty good. We'll play our Scalding Tarn and pass. Delver flips to Force of Will. Okay. Pretty good flip. They're fetching Underground Sea. Counterbalance. What? Alright, I guess if there is a game 3, I'm priced into boarding in my Abrupt Decays now. I mean, what a start. Delver flips Force of Will and a counterbalance. It's pretty ideal. I mean, we opened up a very good hand here. But I don't know if it's going to be good enough to beat this. Another Carpet. We'll play the Volcanic Fetch. We cannot get our Bayou because it's a Scalding Tarn, so instead we'll get Taiga, and then we'll play Carpet. Counterbalance will trigger. Force of Negation. Wow. Okay. We will go to second main phase. Yes. I think I want to make green. We'll play a Chrome Mox. We know that it's a Force of Negation. We'll imprint the Rite of Flame. Play another Carpet. Does Carpet resolve? Does. What about Lion's Eye Diamond? Storm is 4. Okay. And now we're going to relay for 5 versus counterbalance double force. We need this relay to be pretty good. Well, obviously one of them is countered because we knew there was a 3 on top. Burning Wish, 2 lands, and a Brainstorm. Ay. Our opponent attacks, we go to 13. They have land number 3. And a Ponder to set up their counterbalance. That's not very nice. They did not shuffle. So unfortunately, we have to play into the counterbalance here. A lot of the times when people play a Ponder, I will sit through the counterbalance. But that's not an option here with Galvanic Relay because we lose those cards at the beginning of, on our end step, I should say. We'll make blue and black. Let's play Brainstorm. Interesting. So our opponent didn't, maybe they expecting me to start on the Burning Wish, or they just drew a Brainstorm that they're going to cast now. They reveal another counterbalance. So we know that they have 2 counterbalance. I'm definitely interested in these Abrupt Decays. Veil of Summer. We know that they have double force in their hand. I'm trying to think of how we could possibly win this. We'll put back these 2. We will fetch. And I think how we win this is that I Brainstorm into another Veil of Summer. We'll grab a Bayou. Cast Brainstorm number 2. I'd also love another Galvanic Relay for what it's worth. Holy moly. Okay. Wow. Are we just going to embarrass this double counterbalance, double force draw? I can only keep 2 Veils. So the Beseech doesn't do anything. Well, Beseech should go on top. Because if for some reason we don't win this turn, that's the card I'd want next turn. Alright, opponent, is your hand double force, double blue card? Maybe I shouldn't have played the Dark Ritual. Maybe that was a mistake. They force exiling Brainstorm. Let's try another Veil of Summer. They're thinking a long time about this. If it's a blue card, you should just slam your force. I don't know what the thinking is about. They force exiling a Ponder. Sure. So if I play this Burning Wish, it's automatically going to be countered by the counterbalance. And then they have a good surgical target. But I don't know. I guess if I'm going to Guy as well next turn, maybe I want the Burning Wish in the graveyard. We'll pass the turn. Maybe I wasted the Dark Ritual, I'm not sure. I'm expecting that our opponent probably plays the second counterbalance here. We're at 9, and they do play the counterbalance. So I don't think, I mean, this is my own opinion here. I don't think our opponent is supposed to show us the top of their deck when I cast the Beseech. We'll make a bunch of black mana, tap this Chrome Mox. And we're going to Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing the Chrome Mox. Counterbalance will trigger twice. And they reveal the Misty, which means that I am not allowed to go get Guy's Will. Interesting. So they're at 17. We know that they're drawing a land. I really wish I had that Dark Ritual now. So I could get Song of Creation. That is an option. And then I just have to overpower the counterbalances. I could chain Beseeches into an Empty the Warrens, which might be my best choice. So I have 3 more Beseeches. Sacrifice a Carpet. We're going to auto-yield to these triggers. And then I'll grab another Beseech the Mirror. Sacrificing the Carpet. And then we can grab another Beseech sacrificing Lion's Eye Diamond. And that one will cast Burning Wish for free. And then we have 6 available mana. So then that's enough to cast Empty. And that's from 4. Burning Wish will be 5, Empty will be 6. So I don't know if there's a big difference between 12 and 14 goblins on this board state, but having the Dark Ritual certainly would have helped. And now we'll cast the Burning Wish. Storm is 5. Never needed the Abrupt Decays anyway. Had it the whole time. Yes. Grab the Empty. And people want to cut this card. If you are a member of the Storm Discord, it comes up like once a week where people are like, do we really need Empty the Warrens? Case and point. You can clip this, highlight it, share it with a friend, whatever you got to do. Card is great. I might be jinxing myself and our opponent's going to draw like End the Festivities, but if that happens, do not share this. Do not do that. 12 goblins on the battlefield. So our opponent can attack us to 6. We'll swing, they'll attack us to 6. So if they left in Lightning Bolt and they draw it, That is how they beat us here. They did not play their land. We drew a useless Rite of Flame. We will now attack for 6. I'm sorry, for 6. For 12. I was thinking about my life total. Okay. They're at 5. It's all up to this draw. Do you have an opponent? They attack. We're at 3. They play their land. We draw a Bloodstained Mire. And they concede. GG's opponent. GG's. That is match number 1. And we are 1-0 over Grixis Delver. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. Match number 2, we're on the play versus Frosty. Okay, so this is an interesting hand. We have turn 2 Galvanic Relay, assuming we draw another mana source and an imprintable, but we're on the play. I think I want to mulligan this. If I was on the draw, I would probably keep, but I'm just going to send it. This is reasonable. We'll keep this. We'll put a land on the bottom. Bloodstained Mire, send it. Misty Rainforest. For a Bayou. Noble Hierarch. So we're likely facing the Newton deck. On Dark Ritual. Veil of Summer. We could relay. Maybe we're supposed to relay. I don't know. We'll grab Badlands. Rite of Flame. Play a Chrome Mox. We'll imprint the Veil of Summer. And then we'll cast a very sad relay for 3. Underground Sea. Volcanic Island. Fisher's Bauble. Alright, well, at the bare minimum, next turn, assuming we don't get hit by Collector Oof, I am capable of casting Beseech the Mirror into Song of Creation, play Mishra's Bauble, and we even have an extra land. Our opponent has the Collector Oof, such is life. Okay. We are not out of this game. We do have Burning Wish for Grapeshot, or a Dark Ritual there would have been very good because I could still Song of Creation. We'll play the Bauble, pass the turn. I'm still capable of winning this. We could Beseech the Mirror, pass the turn, and then just like try to chain spells until we get enough resources to kill the Collector Oof, or just win through it. Beseech the Mirror is so good. Like, it is possible to win this game with the Collector Oof on the table. I've done it before. People have been talking about in the Storm Discord, like, is Beseech the Mirror really an improvement? And I think the answer is obviously yes, in my opinion. But where it really shines is beating hate like Collector Oof or whatever, and just winning with them on the table, winning through that hate. It's so good. And a Green Sun Zenith for 1. So they're just going full beatdown. They're going to attack for 5 here with this Collector Oof. Yeah, I'll go to 14. Why don't we fetch out a black source real quick? We only have 2 lands left in the deck. That Taiga is the next one. Okay. Whatever card we draw for turn, we're likely discarding to Song of Creation. Another Beseech. Okay. So we are searching out the final land here. Black, black, black. And then we're going to Beseech. I guess we'll get rid of the Bauble. And we'll grab the Song. We're going to play Song of Creation and then pass the turn. Okay. Every fetchable land is out of our deck. And we have 3 fetch lands in our graveyard. So that means that we have 4 fetch lands left in our deck that we don't want to draw. Natural Order. I believe I'm dead here to Crater Hoof. Yep. Okay, well, we put ourselves in a winning position. Our opponent just happened to be on the play. No, I was on the play, right? Yeah, I won the die roll. They just happened to have turn 2 Collector Oof. It happens. Be better. So now we're going to game number 2. We want Thoughtseize in this matchup to stop those early Collector Oofs. And then bring in the Abrupt Decay. You could bring in the Consign. You could also bring in the Grapeshot. I think you want to leave one of those in the sideboard. Let's bring in the Consign. Like, we already have a main deck win condition. We don't need a whole lot more. That's 66. So that makes it so you can board out the Veils and 2 relays, leaving 1 relay in the deck for Beseech the Mirror. It's a clean board plan. And that's what we're going to do and try to win this next game. Game 2. This is a mulligan. What are we doing here? Am I supposed to keep this? These hands are just so bad. I think you're supposed to go to 5. Like, this is just unplayable. Like, you're gonna get Brainstorm locked, and, like, your hand doesn't even make that much mana. Yeah, sure. Get rid of the Brainstorm and Lotus Petal. Play Taiga and pass. Ideally, we would draw Lion's Eye Diamond and cast Echo of Aeons. Having Abrupt Decay for an early Collector Roof. Layer of the Hydra into Elvish Reclaim. Okay. There's our Lion's Eye Diamond. So, if we get hit by Mindbreak Trap, I'm going to just accept that. I think you're supposed to take your odds when you have them. So, we're just going to play into it. Grab the Echo. Lion's Eye Diamond. Storm is 3. Echo of Aeons will be Storm 4. And we'll float 1 mana of each color. Here's 7 new ones. This is a Beseech the Mirror for lethal. Dark Ritual. I'm going to out of order sequence on purpose to see if I can draw out a possible Force of Vigor and find out if they boarded it in. So we're going to play 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds and then an Opal. Do you have Force of Vigor? You do. Okay. I still don't care. Mox Opal. What about a Chrome Mox? No imprint. We'll then cast Beseech the Mirror with Bargain, sacrificing the Chrome Mox. Storm 11. We'll grab the Tendrils of Agony. Cast it. Target you. Storm 12. Sweet. And now we're off to game number 3. Glad I didn't keep that bad 6-card hand. You should not be afraid to mulligan unplayable hand. Leverage the London mulligan. It's something that I say every single month in my article over at theepicstorm.com called Matchup Mulligan, where I talk about hands versus different decks. One of the biggest traps new players have playing the Epic Storm is not mulliganing enough. They keep these hands that just don't really play Magic. And yeah, so we're seeing a little bit of that here. I'm going to resubmit the same 75 for game number 3. I'm going to choose to keep this. This hand is a turn 1 Empty the Warrens, which isn't great versus Elves, but it is a little bit better against the Artisan-based list just because they're a touch bit slower. So we see a Once Upon a Time. Collector Roof. Okay. They grab a Bayou. Noble Hierarch. Okay, right now my plan is Empty the Warrens. It is still Empty the Warrens. We're going to play Chrome Mox. And I'm going to imprint the Tendrils. Maybe I shouldn't because we know that there's a Collector Roof coming down, but I don't know. I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things, but if I end up being wrong, like hypothetically, we could draw running like land Dark Ritual and I could cast the Tendrils for 4. If I lose this game by 4 life in that board state, I will accept that I was wrong. All right. We will cast or Empty the Warrens for 14 good boys. There we go. Storm is 7. And they're resolving! So things you love to see. Right, best draw is one of our 3 copies of Thoughtseize that are in our deck, and our opponent concedes. We win the match, and we are now 2-0. 3 matches left. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Token Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $14.99. This combo token pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens. That includes our classic Storm and mana tokens, as well as fan favorites such as Goblins, Squirrels, and Slime Time Live. But that's not all. We've expanded this token pack to cover a variety of formats with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Match number 3, we're on the play. Our opponent's Goldfish history is a lot of Elves, so I'm going to choose to believe that they're on that again today. We've opened up a hand that is so good, I would keep it in any matchup. So we're going to try this and see, you know, what our opponent's up to. We can just lead on turn 1 Bloodstained Mire. And let's play out the Lotus Petal in case they're a combo deck. But Storm Count really doesn't matter. Like, usually with these Gaia's Will lines, you'll end up with Lethal Storm accidentally. They play a Wooded Foothills, Bayou, and it looks like we're facing Artisan Elves again. Let's fetch, grab an Underground Sea. We'll draw. We draw our Bayou. So I can Beseech here for Gaia's Will, but we don't have enough resources to win. Another thing I could do is I could play Song into Veil of Summer and then hope to chain enough zeros to win before Collector Ooze hits. And I think that's probably what I'm going to do here. Cast the Dark Ritual. And it's not an issue of Storm, it's that we don't have enough resources to actually win the game with Gaia's Will. We're going to sacrifice this Lotus Petal. We will grab Song of Creation, play the Song, and then Bayou and Veil of Summer. We want to draw 0 mana artifacts off this. Song of Creation will trigger. We drew the opposite of 0 mana artifacts. Instead, we're going to pass the turn and discard our hand. On the bright side, if our opponent slams a Collector Ooze here, we have the possibility of winning through it. They play another Hierarch. Gaia's Cradle taps for 2. Fiend Artisan. Come on, spell. That's a spell. We're going to leave open 4 colors of mana here. We'll cast Brainstorm, so we're going to draw 2 and then draw 3 and put 2 back. Okay, I believe that this wins the game. We'll play a Mishra's Bauble. We're going to redraw those cards we just put back. And then we'll play a Mox Opal. Okay. Now we'll play our land for turn. We'll cast this Brainstorm so that way we can shuffle away this Gaia's Will. We have 2 land drops so we can make this turn. Let's put back the Taiga in the Gaia's Will. We'll fetch. Grab the Taiga. Did I just mess up? No, this land grabs the Badlands. Okay. Thought I messed up for a second. Lion's Eye Diamond. We will now play the Brainstorm. Sweet. We'll put back the Mire and the Veil of Summer. Now we can go grab our Badlands. Rite of Flame. Easy peasy. Dark Ritual. And then let's Beseech the Mirror for Tendrils of Agony. Fun fact. You could accidentally draw the Tendrils. Actually, the Tendrils is in our graveyard. This doesn't even work. You could accidentally draw the Tendrils if you don't sacrifice the Song of Creation, was what I was going to say. So keep that in mind. If you sacrifice the Song of Creation, you will not draw 2 cards and it won't ever matter. But you don't want to accidentally lose the game by drawing the Tendrils of Agony ever. But we still have Burning Wish into Tendrils of Agony. And we'll grab these sideboard Tendrils, tap for black, sacrifice this for black, and then we'll find our Tendrils. 13 cards left in deck. Sweet. We also got to play around Endurance. I know that Newton's List plays a various number of Endurance. I've seen builds that have 4 in the main deck. I've seen some that just have the 1. You never really know. Newton changes their list all the time, and just avoiding Endurance because you have Song of Creation is just amazing. This card is just overperformed. I actually got mine back in the mail today. I had Alex McKinley sign my Song of Creation because I'm not going to have Noah Bradley sign it. You can Google why. But yeah, so I'm pretty thrilled to have an Alex McKinley signed Song of Creation. And enough of my rambling about things that don't really matter. Let's sideboard. We're going to board the same way that we did for the previous match. Hit submit. Okay, we've opened up a stellar hand for game number 2 here, is what I meant to say. Sorry, as I record this, it's pretty late on a Friday night. Spent all day working, I'm still unpacking for the new house, and I don't know, I'm a little discombobbled. Once upon a time, they find a Hierarch. They play it. Okay. From Mox. We have a turn 1 Song of Creation win, but I think we're supposed to check them with Thoughtseize to make sure we don't lose to Force of Vigor. We lose if they have double like Green Sun Zenith or Green Sun Collector Ooze or something like that, but I just feel like we're supposed to cast the Thoughtseize. Also checks for Mindbreak Trap. Like, there's just too much upside here. Maybe I should use a Bauble first, because that might tell me if I need to jam. Like, if their top of their deck is like a Collector Ooze or a Green Sun. Force of Vigor. Well, I used one of my Baubles, so I think I'm supposed to just Thoughtseize, because I would only have 1 Bauble to win with here. And they had another Force of Vigor. Okay, so I made the right call. Let's get rid of their Green Sun. Let's stop Collector Ooze, at least for a turn. And then I'll play a Bauble. I'm glad I chose the disciplined game plan. Another Brainstorm. Gaia's Cradle. Okay. Now they can play the Fiend Artisan. They do. So their hand is Hierarch. It's double Force of Vigor. Well, Bauble. Okay. Let's see what we're able to do on our turn. Okay, so draw number 1. This guy as well, not ideal. And then Rite of Flame. That was not great, so I think what we're going to do is cast this Brainstorm. Even if I didn't draw the Guy's Will, and I went Chromox for some reason they didn't force a Vigor, and I Dark Ritual and they didn't force a Vigor, I could get Guy's Will, but I wouldn't have enough resources to win. So let's cast this Brainstorm and hope for the best. Interesting. So we're going to put Guy's Will there, and then we'll put a... what's the card that goes on top? I think it's another Chromox? No, because if they force a Vigor... yeah, okay. I think I'm making the right call here. No, that doesn't work. This doesn't work. I would need them to not force a Vigor either Chromox. But if I pass the turn, I'm going to get Collector Oofed, so I don't think that's a great move. Yeah. Okay. I needed a land off that. So I can imprint Beseech the Mirror, but I'm 1 mana short. So now we have to find a way to beat the Collector Oof off of this Fiend Artisan. We have a Brainstorm as our top card. They attack for 3. We go to 12. And then they're going to use the Fiend Artisan. Gaddock Teague. I don't think that's the right one, but that's fine. Let's cast the Brainstorm and see what we get. We're locked. Okay, we can go to the next game. Bummer. We were so close that entire game. Try it again. Game 3 on the play. This hand is a turn 1 Echo. I think I'm okay with that. I'm such a nice guy. They mulligan to 6 and I'm going to give them 7. Throw Mox, the Imprint Trigger, exile Galvanic Relay. Cast this Rite of Flame. Burning Wish, Storm is 3. Now we'll grab the Echo. Play Lion's Eye Diamond, Storm 4. We do have a land drop after this. So it's like we're starting the game with Storm 5 and a permanent in play. That could have been better. Play the Bloodstained Mire, pass the turn. You could try to like Miracle Brainstorm here, but I think you're better off just passing and then getting a complete Brainstorm plus fetch land on the following turn. Verdant Catacombs for Bayou, Once Upon a Time. Noble Hierarch. Sure, you can Thoughtseize me. Like, do you even take a Brainstorm here, or do you take the Rite of Flame because it's the only piece of mana? The pick might be the Rite of Flame. They take Brainstorm. Okay. That was a good draw if we can hit a Beseech the Mirror off this Brainstorm. Grab Underground Sea. Brainstorm. We did. Okay. So, are we supposed to play around Endurance? Firm is 1. So theoretically, I could keep the other Brainstorm. If I put back Rite of Flame, I could cast the Brainstorm off Volcanic. That would be Storm 2. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I'm 1 short, but the Brainstorm might be able to spike a win if it's another spell we can cast. So I might be able to chain without ever using Guy's Will here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that should do it. We'll play the Lotus Petal, play Chromox, or I'm sorry, Mox Opal, Dark Ritual, and now we'll cast Beseech the Mirror. This is Storm 7, sacrificing Mox Opal. We'll grab another copy of Beseech the Mirror. And this is one of the benefits of playing a lot of artifacts. So some people are trying Ant builds that really only have like 10, 11 artifacts. So they don't get to chain Beseech the Mirror as often. And they're at 17. We have Storm 8 already. So this Tendrils of Agony is Storm 9. But when you have more artifacts, you're able to create spell chains that just beat your opponent's hate. So here our opponent could have had Force of Vigor or Endurance. By having a couple extra artifacts in our deck, we were able to just ignore both of those and come out victorious. We are now 3-0 with 2 matches left. What do you think of the list? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you're still watching, make sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. While you're near the description, here's a reminder to use our affiliate links if you're going to make a purchase from Amazon, Card Hoarder, or TCG Player. Just above those affiliate links, you'll find our social channels. Make sure to join those to connect with us. Match number 4, we're on the play, and unfortunately... oh no, we're on the draw, my bad. Unfortunately, we've opened up a hand that doesn't really play Magic. Even if this Rite of Flame is a Cabal Ritual, like, it just doesn't do anything. We need to send this back. Okay, this seems fine enough. We'll keep this. Probably getting rid of the Beseech the Mirror. We just can't really effectively cast it versus Sneak and Show in time. I'm not really looking forward to this matchup. So our opponent sideboard has, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, the Sneak and Show deck has Trinisphere in its sideboard. And I'm not confident that if we don't win game one, we're going to be able to steal both post-board games. Bobble ourselves. Something funny that you're able to do if you're playing a list with Song of Creation is if you draw Song of Creation against Show and Tell, you can put it into play, and then you can untap because it discards your hand at the end of your turn. So you untap with a fresh hand, and then you can just beat Atraxa, Force of Will, whatever. There's the Ancient Tomb. Uh-oh. Show and Tell, turn 2. We'll put in our Bayou. Archon of Cruelty. They have 4 cards in hand. So I can relay for 3, or I can try to echo. I think either way it's kind of free to get rid of 1 Burning Wish. They have 5 cards in hand. We'll draw Dark Ritual. So if I relay for 4, I could theoretically beat a Force of Will. Guess we should start on this Dark Ritual to see if they try to counter it. They did not. Alright, so we're going to try to Galvanic Relay into the win. So we want to find like a Veil of Summer and a payoff spell. So Beseech the Mirror plus Veil of Summer, or Burning Wish plus Veil of Summer. That's what we're hoping for here. And they're going to counter a copy of Galvanic Relay. Wow. Veil of Summer, Beseech the Mirror, and Guy's Will. Okay, I mean, I wish that we didn't exile the Guy's Will, but that's still an amazing 3 cards. So they're going to attack for 6. The Archon will trigger, and I effectively lose 9. So that's going to leave us at 7. And then they're going to draw a 4th card. Okay, they're at 22. Brainstorm. So the Guy's Will hit was not ideal for us, because I would have a pretty easy win if the Guy's Will was still in our deck. I can Song of Creation here, but I think that has to be the line. Okay. We're going to cast Song of Creation. Our opponent has 4 cards in hand. So you might be looking at the situation and going like Galvanic Relay exiling Guy's Will means that you should run 2 Guy's Wills, or Relay's bad. We wouldn't even be in this situation if Galvanic Relay didn't exist, because we would have lost to this Force of Will. They had double force. Wow. Okay, so now we have to draw a card off of Veil. Like, Relay put us in this spot to be successful. We drew a 0. That was perfect. Okay, let's try to hit a couple runners. Let's draw 2. We're dead. We needed another spell there. Such a bummer. Okay. We had the land drop, but we're 1 mana short of casting Beseech the Mirror. But we almost won through turn 2 Show and Tell double force. That's impressive. Now we have to figure out what we're going to do against Sneak and Show that also has Trinisphere in it. So I think we're forced to bring in the Abrupt Case. We'll take out 2 relays. Probably want these Thoughtseizes. Maybe Shave Baubles? Is that crazy? Let's try this. That game is so close. We just needed a little bit of better luck. I think I'm going to keep this, but this hand is not great. We're just going to Bobble immediately, looking for more lands. Great. Alright, so turn 2 we can Brainstorm, fetch, all that good stuff. Okay, they play Scalding Tarn and pass. We draw another Beseech the Mirror. I'm going to play my land and send it back. Another land. They are fetching. We're going to respond to their Brainstorm with our own. Okay. Ours resolves. We don't need this Beseech the Mirror. And I don't think I need the Burning Wish either. Okay. So I am in an interesting spot. On their end step, we could Brainstorm, looking to draw like a Chrome Mox, so that way we have an artifact for Beseech and a green source. But if I get Volcanic Island and cast the Brainstorm, we don't have any green mana. So things could look a little fishy. Or I could untap, fetch, and then take a draw and then cast Brainstorm. But if I don't draw into the win, we have to pass the turn into their turn 3 after they played multiple cantrips. I think we're supposed to just be patient and grab the Taiga here. I mean, I could grab the Bayou. Yeah, let's grab the Bayou. Because that at least gives me an initial black source for the Dark Ritual. There's a Petal. That was good. We'll play out the Petal. It's not a protected win. because we'd have to sacrifice the petal. So we'll cast this Brainstorm. Thoughtseize. Okay. Let's put back these two. And let's play the Thoughtseize. They force it, exiling Atraxa. I'm going to Veil of Summer. If we get dazed, I mean, I'm not supposed to throw away the Dark Ritual into a Thoughtseize. So they had it, that's fine. We have to hope that their hand isn't good enough. So our top card is Brainstorm with a Abrupt Decay underneath it. So we could cast Beseech, but I'd rather wait until it's protected. Let's Brainstorm. Another Thoughtseize, okay. We're actually in the same boat we were last turn. That's funny. And we'll try another Thoughtseize. They have the Trinisphere. Okay, let's get rid of it. Their hand is 4 cards. We know all 4. We do have a Guy's Will win next turn, assuming our opponent draws a blank piece of cardboard. There's land number 3. So we lose to a Daze. We lose to a lot here. Cast Dark Ritual. Mox Opal. Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing the Opal. Grab the Guy's Will. Cast it. There we go! Player land. Bobble. Player Opal. Lotus Petal. Cast a Dark Ritual. We'll fetch. Grab a Badlands. I suppose we could see what they drew. Play Thoughtseize. Drew another Emrakul. Discard the Sneak Attack, I guess. Sweet. Alright. Game 3 coming up versus Trinisphere Sneak and Show. I don't think we're supposed to make any changes. I'm going to just resubmit and hope we can get the job done. Our opponent Snap kept their hand within seconds of keeping it. I don't love that, but I'm going to keep this hand that's a little bit sketchy. Having the Abrupt Decay already for Trinisphere isn't terrible. I mean, having Veil of Summer, Dark Ritual, like there's a lot of things that could go right with this hand, assuming we draw well. So that's my game plan at the moment. Play the Bloodstained Mire, we'll pass. Also, we have the Song of Creation. I mentioned it in game number 1. If they slam a show and tell, we can put Song of Creation onto the battlefield. That is something I would like to do. Ancient Tomb. That is not what I wanted to see out of them. Oh, that's such a bummer. Come on. Ay, ay, ay. We need to hit lands off this Brainstorm. We did not. I'm just not going to win this. I'm going to concede. Like, I understand this game could go a million turns, and then I somehow draw running lands, and we Abrupt Decay the Trinisphere and all that good stuff. I'm not that optimistic. It's already late. I just would rather play match 5. So we lost to Trinisphere out of Sneak and Show. This is like the only person that does that. This is not normal. So sometimes you lose to, you know, individual specific things. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. And we're now 3-1 with a single match left. Let's just win that one and keep our heads up. With Card Hoarder, renting your favorite combo deck has never been easier. There isn't a more affordable solution for Magic Online. Want to play the deck in this video? Check out the pinned comment below to easily rent the deck from Card Hoarder. Did you know you can rent the Epic Storm from Card Hoarder for as little as 7 tickets a week? We've made it simple to do so by including a button to rent the entire deck at theepicstorm.com/decklist. The 5th and final match, we are on the play versus the TheGrimLavamancer, who I mostly know is a Delver player. However, their last result was Reanimator and then Death Shadow, and I faced them recently on Sneak and Show. So not really sure what they're playing. We have an interesting hand here. The double Burning Wish is a tiny bit clunky, but I like the Veil of Summer and the ability to redraw with the Bobble. This hand might be a little bit of a sketchy keep, but I'm going to try it. Okay, so I will lead on the Bloodstained Mire. We'll play out our Bobble, and then I'm just going to pass the turn. It looks like it's Reanimator. Alright, Verdant Catacomb. Lotus Petal. Faithless Looting. Our opponent discards Archon of Cruelty in a land before playing an Unmask. I'm going to go fetch for... It's an interesting decision here. Like, do you get the Taiga when you have a pair of Burning Wishes? Or do you play towards Beseech the Mirror? With Archon in the graveyard, I think I want the Taiga because another land means I can just go get Echo and make sure that if they attack, I can just discard Echo. So I'm going to Veil this Unmask. We'll draw a card. That was a good one. Let's see their top card. Bristlebrand. How lovely. They have another Lotus Petal. Third Lotus Petal. What a high Storm count. Storm 6. And they're going to pass. Dark Ritual. Ooh, if this was a land, that would be a win. I think I'm supposed to hold here. We know that they're drawing a Griselbrand. They didn't have the reanimate spell last turn, so they exiled another Unmask to their Unmask. So I think they're short a reanimation spell based on how this game is played so far. They flashback Faithless Looting, sacrificing a pair of Lotus Petals. Our opponent discards a land and a Griselbrand. They reanimate the Griselbrand with one card left in their hand. They go to 11. And now they're at 4. They do have a land drop. And then there's one Lotus Petal left in their deck. So there's a Badlands. Dark Ritual. I'm glad that I did not Burning Wish for Echo based on how this game has gone. So they're now going to Archon of Cruelty. And we will cycle the Veil of Summer. Want another artifact or a land. Mox Opal will do it, and I believe we have a deterministic win on our turn now. I guess we don't need a Guy's Will anymore. They are at 4 life. But where's the fun in that? Also, we could probably just Grapeshot kill them. Who doesn't love a good Grapeshot win? Rite of Flame. Lotus Petal. And the Veil of Summer stops the trigger from Archon of Cruelty. It fizzles it, so they don't actually gain any life. A fun fact for you, because who doesn't love fun facts? We'll grab the Grapeshot and then show our opponent who the boss is. Boom! And that is game number 1 over Black-Red Reanimator. Going to the sideboard, we want to bring in all 3 copies of Thoughtseize, and then we can just take out Relays. If you're interested, you could board in the Consigned to Oblivion for like an Iona, but I'm not playing around that. We can just... I'd rather not draw a Consigned to Oblivion pretty much ever, so I'd rather just have 4 Veil of Summers, 3 Thoughtseize. When you're on the draw against Reanimator, hands like this are honestly amazing because there's so many cards that they want to take with discard spells. So you could keep a turn 1 win hand and then your opponent griefs you or plays an Unmask and all of a sudden you don't get to play Magic. But when you have Mishra's Bauble, you have stored draws, so that means that there will be a situation that you can cash in that Bauble and hope to spike a Lion's Eye Diamond plus, you know, a Burning Wish or something else. And Veil of Summer is essentially a time walk. So let's say they play Grief turn 1, they take the Burning Wish. Okay. Well, these Veil of Summers ensure that I'm going to be protected for the next few turns while I cantrip and stuff. And, you know, set us up for a potential win, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Like, if I'm the opponent, I am not happy to see this hand. They take the Burning Wish. That's what I would take, so that makes sense. Is your plan the scam plan, or do you also have a turn 1 reanimated creature that isn't Grief? Badlands, okay. Lotus Petal. Entomb. So they have the turn 1 large creature as well. Very good hand. Interesting. They grab a Troxa. Yeah, I mean, this hand was pretty much everything they wanted. I do think Griselbrand is better in these matchups, but I understand why they chose this path. Wow, and an insane 10 cards. They could reanimate a Grief here and unmask me. Maybe Atrax is actually better in this spot. I think I'm wrong. Because they could draw 7 cards, so you get to see 3 more cards with Atraxa here. I think that their decision made sense. I was incorrect. Okay. And now they get back the Grief. And now the pick is either Brainstorm or Bauble. It's probably the Brainstorm. Or if you're really greedy, you go for the Dark Ritual and hope that I just like don't find mana or payoffs, which is an option. So I think I've changed my mind. It's Brainstorm or Dark Ritual, and it depends on what plan you want to go with. I think the right one is probably Brainstorm, followed by Dark Ritual. They choose Dark Ritual. Okay. Lotus Petal is a good one. We'll bobble ourselves immediately. I don't want another Veil of Summer, so we're going to fetch. Grab a Bayou. Pass the turn. We'll draw a random card. Opal's okay. We're hoping that they cast a black spell this turn so we can cycle a Veil of Summer. I don't see that happening, but it's what we would like to happen. So we'll take 10 going down to 9. They're going to gain 7 going up to 20. They play land number 2. And now we're all in on this Miracle Brainstorm. Alright, Lotus Petal. Cast Brainstorm, Storm 2. That is not going to get the job done. And we can go to game number 3, where we get to be on the play. I'm not going to change anything. We're just going to Hope to open up a solid hand versus Reanimator. The final match, or final game of this league, and we've opened up a hand that does not play Magic at all, so we will send it back for 6. So we would have to draw Dark Ritual, specifically Dark Ritual. And then that doesn't Guy's Will, but we could Song. This hand is not that good. Our opponent kept 7. Am I supposed to just send this back for a 5 that could maybe Echo? Like, I'm just trying to think of what this hand really does. I think it does nothing. Like, even if I draw Dark Ritual. So on turn 2, I go Dark Ritual, sacrifice the Lotus Petal to Beseech. And then I get Song, I can play an extra land and pass. Alright, we're going to 5. This is great. Keep. Bottom Tendrils. Bottom a Wish. Okay, we're going to imprint this Rite of Flame. Because there's not really a difference between casting it and imprinting it. And this way, if I'm forced to pass the turn, we'll have an additional mana. You might be saying, why not just get Echo of Aeons and pass? I think that's a little bit of a trap. Our opponent kept 7 cards for a reason. So we should try to disrupt their 7 cards and not let them put a giant creature onto the battlefield. We'll grab our Echo. And then we're going to shuffle up. We'll have no mana floating. 2 permanents on the battlefield. Storm is 4. Okay. We have to pass the turn. And hope that our opponent's new 7-card hand is not very good. Move to cleanup. Come on. Discard a creature that way. Pass the turn. You can do it. I believe in you. They play a land. Badlands? That's not a good sign. I don't love that. Gothy Voidwalker with 1 black mana floating. Okay, well that's fine. This is a play that I'm okay with. They have 5 cards left. Lotus Petal. Let's cast Brainstorm. We missed on a payoff spell that would win the game. Guy's Will does nothing when they have Gothy Voidwalker. It's not even worth suspending. So we'll put these 2 cards on top, and then we're going to have to draw through this Brainstorm. We have a couple turns, so I don't think it's the end of the world. But I would have liked to fetch land or something if we were going to miss on the Brainstorm. Because we could have hit 3 Burning Wishes or 1 of 4 Beseeches to just win the game there. So they're going to attack. We'll go to 16. Faithless Looting. We know that our top card is a Rite of Flame, and then there's a Guy's Will underneath that. They have a Fairy Macabre in their deck. That's interesting. They discard Atraxa, Dark Ritual, Exhume. Atraxa triggers. Archon, Entomb, Fairy Macabre, another Atraxa, Unmask, Entomb, Verdant Catacombs, Lotus Petal, Gristlebrand, Unmask. I have to imagine they're going to take Unmask. So we're going to cycle Veil of Summer, we'll draw the Rite of Flame, we'll untap for turn, we'll draw the Guy's Will, and then Brainstorm looks at 3 new cards. They select Verdant Catacombs, Lotus Petal, Archon of Cruelty, Unmask, and Entomb. They unmask, exiling Archon of Cruelty, we'll cast the Veil of Summer. We draw the Rite of Flame that we knew about, and then we can F6 through the rest of their turn. So we know that they still have Entomb and Verdant Catacombs. They play the Entomb. Interesting. So they got a Shield Dread. So my Brainstorm is going to cost me 6 life now. We draw the Guy's Will. And my normal path to beating Gothy Voidwalker is Song of Creation, but I think because their life total is so low, that's not going to be super difficult. We missed. We had back-to-back Brainstorms this game not hit. I am dead on board. That's a bummer. Okay. So we lost to Black-Red Reanimator, where game 3, our deck kind of floundered out. Harsh reality, but it's the truth. I mean, we had a couple opportunities to win that, but it didn't happen. We had a situation game 1 versus Sneak and Show, where we needed Song of Creation to draw spells, and instead it drew Land Beseech the Mirror, which is one of the few combinations that we lost with. So that happened. We lost to Trinisphere. Overall, I think that this was a decent league. Obviously, 3-2 is nothing spectacular, but when you look at the losses, it's to an oddity out of already difficult matchup. And then Black-Red Reanimator, I'm actually favored at the moment, but our deck kind of failed us. So that's Magic. There is variance in this game. I thought that this was still a solid showing of the deck and its capabilities. Hopefully you thought so as well. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Have a great day. And as always, keep storming.
Hey,
Bryant Cook. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. There's no better way to support our channel. If you're interested in elevating your combo game, visit theepicstorm.com/tutoring for details about our coaching sessions. Don't worry, there's more great combo content coming right up.